Are you an idiot? Well, you're in good company. There are about 8 billion idiots on this planet, and that number grows every day. Don't be the guy or gal that says, "I'm not an idiot," because that makes you the biggest idiot of all. We all have our moments of brilliance and our moments of idiocy. Embrace it, folks. Don't be ashamed. Without those idiot moments, we would never be able to appreciate our brilliance. Welcome to I Love My Idiot, a podcast about the idiots we love, the idiots we loathe, and the idiots we can't seem to avoid. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Welcome to another episode of I Love My Idiot.
I'm your equal host, Clyde November.
And I'm Rosie November.
And we're so glad that you're joining us today.
It's kind of an exciting episode today.
The most exciting episode.
Yeah. We actually got to see a friend, do something really cool today, but we'll talk about that later. So first of all, Clyde, have you ever met a person who you could clearly tell they thought they were way sexier than they actually were?
Almost everyone I meet. No, I'm joking about that. A lot of women underestimate their beauty.
Yeah.
There's an epidemic going on in our country of women who think that they're ugly despite that they're not.
Yeah, kind of like me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All you ever do is whine about that you're not pretty enough, and
well, here's the thing.
I get fully aroused just looking at you.
The reason I ask you, oh my gosh, here's the thing. The reason I ask that question is because I have never met a woman that is like that. Most of the women I meet do not believe that they're sexy, even though every woman I meet is sexy to some degree.
Yeah, everyone's bringing something to the table.
Sure.
Well, not everyone. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule.
All I gotta say is I'm sitting here today with three of the sexiest men I have ever seen today. So I want to jump right into it.
You guys are dead to me.
I don't want to dilly-dally because I'm so excited to have them on the podcast. Joel Nert is here. Welcome to the podcast, Joel.
I can't believe you had me back.
Yeah, welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that we're doing this again after the last one, but thank you.
I don't know why. The last one was great. I've re-listened to it at least 10 times.
I'm being humble it was awesome. It was the best episode you guys have ever had.
Everybody, so here's the thing. There is a phenomenon with, I don't know that I said that word correctly, but with this podcast where if you're on it, that's instantly your favorite episode.
Everyone else, though, is wrong. Mine really was.
That's right. We also have a really good friend who would like to compete for number one spot on the podcast because he's jealous of Claudia, our good friend Smythe. Welcome to the podcast, Smythe.
How you doing, Rosie?
Oh, so good.
Hi, Clyde. Hey. Also, that being said, yeah, I feel like Claudia gets way too much credit, and I'm happy to be here.
We agree. I mean, she does get a lot of credit.
You know what, Smythe? I hope that you do dethrone her.
Yeah.
She needs to be knocked down a couple notches.
Oh, and it will happen.
All right, it's on.
It's on. I guess Claudia can be the judge when she listens to this episode and hears how awesome you are.
I still love you, Claudia.
You do? Is Claudia your favorite guest on this podcast?
Well, Joel Nert.
Yeah,
this is my favorite guest.
She meant after me.
Yeah, after you. Yes, definitely.
He's on a whole different playing field,
Oh, he's way up there.
Yeah.
World record holder? Come on.
Yeah, that's right. So, the three of you were in the Army together.
That's how we met?
Yeah, and your name is Three Skin.
That's right. Our friend group has a name. We named ourselves.
It's like an exclusive club.
Yeah.
One of the best names you could ever have, also.
Absolutely.
Right. I just have to admit, though, tonight when we were hanging out as a family in a very public place, one of your wives kept yelling, "Three Skin Kids, get over here!" And people were looking at us.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, between us, we have 11 kids.
Yeah.
So when we
That's a lot
go
of kids.
out in public, it's a lot of three-skin kids running around. And we carry that name proudly.
The children don't, but you guys do.
Oh. Well, they're born into it.
Yeah, they don't have a choice.
I just did the math. There's 12.
Is there?
You missing one.
You forgot one of mine again.
I always forget how many kids you have. Look, if someone has more than 4 kids, your friends are no longer obligated to remember how many
is true.
kids you have.
I'll agree
And it
with
doesn't
that.
matter how good of friends you are. Once they go over that threshold, you just have no obligation.
Absolutely.
That's true.
To be honest with you, my wife is the one that remembers how many kids we have, so...
So when
Yeah.
you get in the van, she's the one doing the head count?
Yeah.
If it were up to you, some kid would be left in Disneyland years ago.
I don't know. We only have 3, and we have forgotten one in the car one time. I mean, not for a long period of time, but long enough to be like, we're the worst parents.
How about this? When I was a kid, right? So I also had 5 in my family. Uh-huh. My mom left me at Shopko once. She literally left. She went home. This is back before the time of cell
man.
phones. So, I mean, there's no way for me to contact her.
You're like, I live at
I'm
Shopko
like,
now.
yeah, I go up to the customer service counter. I'm like, I don't know where my mom is. And so they said, well, sit right here. So I sat on the bench. And about an hour later, she came back to the store. picked me
Did
up.
she
Wow.
say anything, like apologize?
Well, in her
or-
defense, we had a bunch of friends with us, too. So there was more kids than just our family
Yeah.
at the time. And so
Dude, how did
Whatever.
she transport all them kids? Did she have like a big,
it was a big old
Twinkie
van.
van?
Oh, yeah. Big old van.
So I feel like when we were kids, we had a different experience going to the store with our parents than my kids have, and maybe you guys have different methodology with your children. We call it our children are not free-range children.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but
Yeah.
when I go to the store, my kids have to stay with me the whole time. But when I was a kid, the second we'd go to the store, my mom would be like, hey, go to the toys, I'll meet you there. Right? And
Yeah.
I'd like hang out in the toy section for like hours, and then finally my mom would come pick me up. Right? Did you guys do something like that?
We didn't do that when I was a kid. We had to stay with my mom. I have one of my kids, though, that life is just a lot easier if I do that. So I send him to the toys. The girls stay with us, but the boy, hey, go hang out in the toys. We'll find you later.
Yeah.
You're like,
Or
if
we
anyone,
won't. It's fine.
if anyone tries to kidnap you, just show them your personality.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I would probably work with my boys too.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with my kids, though. I'm always counting them and hope that I get the right number because my wife's is the one that decides that. But
Yeah.
I am always just looking around and afraid that they're going to get lost.
Well, this one time when I was at the store with my mom, she sent me off to go to the toy section, as she did every time. And then she came over and she said, hey, Clyde, it's time to go. And I was like, okay. But I knew what time to go meant, right? I mean, she's going to go stand in line. It's going to take like 10, 15 minutes for her to check out. So I kept like kind of watching, and you know, I was thinking like, oh, I could look at the toys a little bit longer. And then at some point I looked at the cashier and my mom wasn't there. And I was like, oh shoot, mom went out to the car. So I ran out to the car, and my mom was trying to teach me a lesson. So she had gotten in our big Twinkie van and started driving off in hopes that I'd like see
Oh
her
my gosh.
and panic and learn my lesson. So I started running, and it had those automatic doors, but I was too small for it to pick me up. So I was just standing at the door, banging on the door, crying, screaming, like, no, my mom's leaving me.
Dude.
It was a horrifying moment. Like, I still remember it. I was probably only like 5 or 6 years old, which is crazy that my mom would let me just roam the store when I'm
Oh
like
my
5.
gosh.
Like, I did not have the social skills to even go to the customer service if I got lost. You know what I mean?
So I want to know, how did each of you meet? And like, what is your first memory of each other?
As fate would have it, we all ended up in the same platoon in the Army. And when I first got there, I didn't really like most of the people there. There was not a lot of people I had things in common with. A lot of douchebags, you know, those types of people. And I mean, some of them were good guys, but I just didn't want to take the time to get to know them because I was shy and I didn't initially have anything in common with them.
Sure.
So I would go to my Army stuff and just kind of do my own thing and just kind of just get through it. And then Smythe showed up a little while later, and then Clyde showed up a little while after that. So one by one, we just joined into this platoon, and the platoon kept getting better as we joined in.
Nice.
And so we didn't have to go out and try to meet each other. Fate brought us together.
Oh, wow. That's
That's
deep.
true. And when you talked about how there's a lot of people that, you know, seemed unlikable, that was my initial reaction when I joined our platoon. I was like, wow, there's a lot of douchebags in this platoon. But I realized over time, they really weren't douchebags. There was just, and pardon my language, Rosie, but it was a constant, like, dick measuring contest that was happening.
Yes.
And you get that a lot when you get a whole bunch of alpha dogs, you know, together. They're all trying to prove why they're the most masculine, strongest, best shot, whatever it is, right? And I just don't buy into that kind of thing. Like, that always has kind of annoyed me. So while everyone was kind of having those conversations, here's Joel Nert off to one side, and here's Smythe off to the other side, and I was like, I think these two are going to be the two that I end up being friends with.
But when we all got deployed together, some of those guys that I thought were douchebags ended up being good guys that I liked. And some of those guys that I thought were just nominal douchebags, I found out I like really hated them.
The interesting thing to me was I had just gotten off a deployment before that deployment. And because I had just gotten off of one, I wasn't required to go. And yet I still volunteered to go. And the first deployment we went on, Joel didn't have, or you were able to get out of it because you were going to college at the time.
Yeah, as a full-time student.
Yeah, and so you got out of that deployment. And so we never got to know each other there. I got to know a bunch of other guys separate from you guys. And then when this next deployment happened, I actually volunteered to go. And that's when I really got to know Joel and Mr. November here. Yeah. Clyde. I forget his name at times. Well, we go by last names in the military.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
To remember
It makes
Clyde,
sense.
it's a lot to remember. So
Was it like at first sight, you just knew, like, okay, November's a good guy?
I feel like it was. I feel like we clicked like right away. Like I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just the douchiness of the other guys or. I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad calling anybody names, but
Yeah.
I mean, there was just that. I don't know. We just clicked.
Yeah.
And it was just comfortable hanging out with each other.
What do you mean you feel bad calling people names? You called me 3 derogatory terms before
Well, yeah,
we
but that was
started this
well
podcast. You want to know what's really interesting about this group is you guys all get along, but us wives all get along too.
Yes.
Like, how unusual is that to have 3 dudes who've been friends for years and then the wives also love each other? You know, like we always talk about becoming sister wives because we love each other so much. And it's pretty incredible. I mean, I think it's very rare.
It doesn't happen a lot. Like, you know, like a lot of my wife's good friends, I think their husbands are okay, but it's
Sure.
like, I'm not going to go hang out with them.
Right.
You know? But to have 3 dudes get along so well and their wives get along so well to where the 6 of us can go with or without kids and just have fun. I mean,
So Shelly, Joel's wife, and my wife, they kind of, the way that they became close friends was kind of unique, I think, because we were on our deployment. They had never met each other, and we were flying them down to come see us before we were to leave to Iraq, and they missed their flight down to see us, and so that's really when they started bonding, I think. They got really close through that experience. And then, you know, when they finally were able to get down there to us, we just had a lot of fun together. And then, once you and Clyde got together,
Yeah.
Once you joined the
it
fray.
was, it was just crazy how we just,
Yeah.
it just was like a great friendship from the beginning.
Well, it was really funny. I still remember the first time I met your wives. I met you guys all together. It was like a birthday party for your kid. I'd never met your kid before. He's turning like 2 years old. And Clyde's just like, yeah, we're going to a kid birthday party today. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't care. Let's do that. You know, and I bring like way too many presents. Turns out like in your family, you wrap presents in like pillowcases.
T-shirts, yeah,
And they're
Walmart
like,
bags, whatever.
pretty
you got.
sure that your brothers like pick them up at the gas station on the way
Yeah,
in.
in fact, I think one of them got a plunger.
Yes,
One of them brought a plunger for his birthday.
I've seen window washer fluid.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things. I've seen the $3 movies that you like buy, and your kids always love these gifts. And
Oh,
here
yeah.
I come with like $200 worth of gifts, and they're like, "Whoa, did somebody rob a toy store?" Like we don't.
Yeah, every single person at that party's mad at you. They're like, you're going to raise these kids' expectations in the future.
Yeah, well, it's
Thanks a
really
lot,
funny
Rosie.
because Lexi Smythe, your wife, was like, "You didn't have to do this," and I like had no idea because, for one, at that point, I wasn't really socialized. Like we've talked about the socialization
Yeah.
of you know, Rosie. Like I came from a pack of wolves. Like I didn't know how to do life yet. You know.
You don't know this, Rosie, but that was a big moment because I brought you to that party to see if you were going to fit in the Three Skin family. Because I knew
we were dating. We weren't even married.
Like, once they were like, "Oh, she's cool," I think I impregnated you that night.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
all it
let's make this official.
But anyways, I get with your wives, and they sort of start collecting the kids apart from us. I mean, the reality is they were just so raw, so real, and I was like, that's it. Like, these are my girls, you know?
Yeah. And then the pillow fight started like right afterwards, right?
No.
Slow motion pillow fight, I think.
In their lingerie.
Yeah,
No, that's not how it happened.
that's what I remember.
I have to say, though, Shelly is like one of the most scrappy women I've ever met in my life. Like, on a deserted island, I'm having both of your wives there, and I'm pretty sure she's going to hunt and gather, like, all of our food.
She'll get things done.
Yeah, it was really funny because she's like, she issues orders, and I don't even know, I'd have to think for hours about this. She, right off the top of her head, is like, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and... You know, she makes shit happen. That's
She's
what Shelly
super
does.
decisive in that situation.
Yeah.
But you go to McDonald's and she's going to look at that menu for like 10 minutes.
And then Lexi, holy cow, she's the caretaker of the group. I mean, she's always the biggest heart, and she just cares so deeply. And like when I get a hug from her, I feel like I'm being just enveloped with love, you know?
She's been a mom since she was like 2.
Yeah.
Like, even to her siblings, she acted like the mom. And now our daughters are the same way, where they just think they're the moms. And they're in control of everything. But yeah.
Yeah.
She's a very loving mother.
There's a lot of rare things about this group. I mean, the fact that, you guys met all those years ago and remained friends, but, you know, the fact that our wives all get along, it's pretty cool.
Should we talk about how we came up with the name Three Skin?
Yeah, because that name deserves some explanation.
Because it's one of the all-time names of, like, groups.
It's not foreskin, people. It's Three Skin.
Yeah, clarification.
Luckily there wasn't one more person part of our gang.
I know.
We tried.
We did
We
try.
tried to get another
We
member of our
tried
club.
to recruit Boomer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Boomer had no interest.
And this all happened on our deployment too, and oddly enough, we didn't come up with this name for the reasons that you would think. We actually did shave our heads.
Uh-huh.
Well, we shaved stuff into our heads.
Yeah. Like, if I remember correctly, Joel, you shaved yours into a mohawk.
Yeah, I think that's what I did.
Smythe
did the old man
the old
bald.
the old
Yeah.
man, like, horseshoe
I kept
balding
the
on
sides
top.
and the back, but
man.
but
Yeah.
bald on top.
It was classic. I don't remember what I did. I think I just had a
You
giant
little
patch
Yeah,
in
you
the
had a little
front,
patch on the front.
and everything else was completely shaved. So while we were doing this, we were just doing it for fun. Our lieutenant walked in and saw us and, like, yelled at us and was like, "This is not military standard. I hope you don't plan on keeping that." And we're like, "Why would we keep this? We look like freaking idiots right now." Like, we're like, "Yeah, sure thing, sir." And then somehow, I don't even know who coined the name. Does anybody?
I don't know, but after we did that, we shaved it to the skin with a Bic. And then there was just 3 of us with our head shaved to the skin, and somebody was like, Three Skin. I don't even know.
The whole point of it was that we knew we would never see people that we know, and so we thought, you know, for once in our lives, let's just bick our heads. I feel like Joel came up with the name, though. I could be wrong.
I'll take credit.
Yeah,
I'm happy to.
It seems like you did because you were kind of obsessed with foreskin at the time, you know.
Obsessed with foreskin. Let's not explore that one.
Poor Shelly.
Yeah, so somehow Joel coins, or someone, I don't know, coins the clever name Three Skin. So then we just started randomly, every time we would see people, we'd just shout, "Three Skin, huh?" Because that's like a big army thing. People say, "huh," to try to sound like super intense.
I preferred Joel's, though, what he would yell out instead of huh.
What did I yell? I don't know what you're talking about.
Canned 'em?
Oh,
Tandem!
that caught on.
It did catch on.
It did catch on.
He would yell Candom. What was the whole story of Candom and how that came
That's
about?
actually a really good story. Thank you for asking.
You see that setup? I'm just lofting softballs over here.
I'm hitting them out of the park.
We'll see.
So, 7th grade, we were on the bus, and we were really rowdy, and we had this old bus driver named Gene. And poor Gene, I feel bad now, but at the time it was hilarious. And we would just always throw things, and just usually wads of paper. Sometimes we'd light firecrackers on the bus, things like that. My brother once lit the seat on fire.
Oh my gosh.
And
You were those hellion kids that, like, when you're driving by a bus and you look up and you just see kids
yeah, and
out
Gene
of
was like
control.
this retired guy just trying to make a few extra bucks
Oh,
as a bus
man.
driver. Well, this kid Willie brought a condom onto the bus, and he blew it up like a balloon, and he tied it, and he started hitting it around like a beach ball.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll never forget, one of the girls was like, Gene, Willie has a condom, and he's throwing it. I can't even get this story out because I can picture it so clearly. Gene looks up in the mirror and he goes, a condom? And it was so funny that all of us on the bus started saying that, condom. So I brought that word with me to our platoon, and I'd say it quiet enough when we were in formation that only the people around me could hear it.
Oh my gosh.
But like the first sergeant and like the company commander couldn't hear me, and I'd be like, condom, just like really quiet and get everybody just giggling around me.
Wasn't there one time though that
There
after everyone
was,
went
yes.
silent,
Yes.
I expected there to be a lot of noise for something, and I thought it was a good time to slip out a condom, but it didn't happen. Like,
right when it went silent?
it was like crickets, and I do that, and everyone looks over, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
Standing
our
up.
first sergeant was like glaring at our platoon. He's like, I know it was one of them. One of them MPs over there. I don't know which one.
it's just like the best word ever. I mean, Gene, by all accounts, has probably been dead for 20 plus years by now, but I have to really thank him. I mean, just like to take a moment of silence for Gene,
Agreed. Everyone be quiet.
and that will do.
All right. There you go, Gene.
I totally expect you to yell out "Candom" in that.
I know.
in that silence.
Well, the
missed
thing that I
opportunity.
love about this story is the fact that you've been saying this for years, and this is the first time these guys know why you've been saying
Yeah,
that.
I never knew that
No,
story.
I know.
I
Clyde
knew the story.
Clyde knew the story. He even
I
wrote
knew-
a song about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar with the Candom thing. It became like our platoon code word. Like, when we would walk to the chow hall, if we passed someone from our platoon, you'd see them and you'd just say, Candom? And, like, honestly, I think the majority of the platoon forgot where the, like, genesis of that was. But,
Most people
Yeah.
didn't know that backstory.
yeah, I was one of the few because, I really dug to get it. I was like, I gotta know.
Well, the other thing about you guys is how common is it for people who meet the way you meet to remain friends for this many years?
I don't know about you guys, but as far as like guys I was in the army with, other than you, I mean, there's Boomer.
But you were friends with him before you
I've
came
been
in.
friends with Boomer since 7th grade. So, I mean, besides Boomer, I really don't keep consistent contact with anyone.
Likewise.
Well, yeah, and that includes high school too. Like, how often do we hang out with anybody you went to school with, or like these are your closest pals
Oh, yeah.
sitting in this room, other than Boomer.
Yeah. Well, when you run into someone from high school that you don't want to see? Do you guys ever have that
Oh,
happen? And
yeah.
Well,
you're
I don't
like, "Oh."
still live in the same town I grew up in, so it doesn't happen to me too much.
When I'm working, will run into people from high school.
Wow.
And there's been a couple of times where I didn't even know who they were, and they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, we went to high school together," and I'm like, "Yeah, we did," because
no.
I don't remember them. But
Yeah.
I'm a horrible person.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Everything in high school is worth forgetting.
And people look different. Seriously, like if I ever go back to my hometown, I'll run by people and they'll know who I am because I look very similar to how I looked back then. But man, I could not tell you who they are, because they look so different. Like they gain weight or they lose weight or they just, their faces change. Usually I can actually think of who they are if I can know their mom, because a lot of times they start looking like their
Yeah.
moms,
Well, your youth is
Yeah.
eternal, Rosie.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Speaking of staying in touch with people from the military, you guys remember that the neighborhood I just moved out of had a guy
Oh, yeah.
from the military.
Yes.
I don't know if I should say his name,
You probably shouldn't.
but
We'll get sued.
the best story ever.
Let's just call him Walter.
Walter.
Can I
There
tell
we
a
go.
story about Walter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember when we were before we went to Iraq, we were doing the training, You remember this story, Clyde?
I remember because I was brand
So-
new and nervous. I wanted to impress my sergeant.
This is the funniest story ever to me. So Clyde was our driver. I was the gunner, so I was in the turret, and Walter was our team leader. So he's sitting in the passenger seat, and he's running the radio and everything. And what were we doing that day? We were doing an escort for some high-profile
It was
people
our
or something.
first training exercise, and we were the lead Humvee of this convoy that had our commanding general. It had our chaplain. It had
Wasn't
the
there like a
sergeant major.
senator or somebody
Yeah,
with them
it was
too
like
or something?
all these like
Yeah, high-profile
dignitaries.
people, yeah.
They all wanted a piece of it
And-
because it was the first mission we're doing.
Yeah, and as MPs, we were doing the escort, and we were the lead vehicle. And we get ready to pull. So we had driven to this place where we did this training. We were getting ready to leave. We pull up to the stop sign to leave, and Walter says, "Turn left." And Clyde looks at him and he says, "I'm pretty sure we came from the right." And he said, "Don't argue with me, just turn left." And so Clyde's like, "Okay," and he starts turning left. The second he starts making that left turn, over the radio, somebody calls up and says, "Where are you guys going?"
Oh no.
Yeah. And you know what Walter does?
What?
He says, "I'm sorry, my driver doesn't know what he's doing."
Oh.
Because
And that
we were
is Walter
supposed
to
go
a
the
T.
right. Oh,
that
that's
is
exactly
that is
who it
just
was.
him.
Yeah,
Throw everyone else under the bus.
He threw me under the bus hardcore. And what was great is about 30 minutes down the road, we had to pull over for one reason or another. And while I'm sitting there in my driver's seat, here comes the sergeant major, and I can see him walking toward me in my like side mirror. He gets up to my window, knocks on my window, and he just starts laying into me. He's like, "Private, do you realize that in a combat zone, had you taken the wrong turn?" And he's just screaming at me, and I'm like, "Yes, Sergeant Major." And I don't want to like throw my team leader under
Right.
the bus, right? So I'm just
Because you're not as
Yeah.
big of a
Yeah,
douchebag as he
exactly.
is.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking it. He walks away. Next thing I know, a major's at my window yelling at me for the same thing. Next thing I know, the general's at my window yelling at me, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!"
You took it like a champ, Clyde.
I did.
That was a pattern for the rest of the deployment, though.
Yeah, later that night, also, every night the leadership would have a leaders meeting, and my platoon sergeant came back, and had the whole platoon gathered around, and he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to know, who was it that took the wrong turn in that convoy?" And I'm like, "Really? Now in front of the whole platoon?" I'm like, "It was my leader." But what's great about that leader is he ran for like city leadership. I don't
yeah,
remember
like
what it
city
was.
council or
City
something
council,
out where I lived.
right? And I was like, "This guy doesn't have leadership skills."
And I really wanted to come out and just tell everyone, you don't want this guy in leadership. Like,
When I saw his campaign signs around town, every time I saw one, I would just start laughing my head off.
You
I
know
was
what?
like, this can't be real.
Yeah, and what made me laugh is one morning I wake up and I'm leaving my house, and there's about 30 of his campaign signs in my front yard.
Oh my
And
god.
I
And
don't
you
know
know
how
what-
they got there.
You know what was the best part is Lexi opened the door. She looks out and sees all these campaign signs, and she knows the story of Walter.
Yeah.
She sees those signs, and she thinks that he put them in our yard because we know him. And she's like, "Are you kidding me that he did that?" And right away, I realized that it was Joel that had set us up. And I was like, "No, hold on a second. This is a prank." And so we went and picked up all the signs, threw them inside our front door, and then on our neighborhood Facebook page, he comes out and he says, "Somebody stole all my signs that I had put up all over town," and he's like, "I don't know where they went." So we had to come out and say, "Oh, I don't know. We found them in our yard."
That's hilarious. Now, on that Facebook chat, one of the responses was, "It's amazing what your opponent will do to win." So the opponent gets blamed.
No, it was me. That took a long time. I drove
was
around
a
your
lot of
town.
signs.
That took like 2 hours in the middle of the night. Every time I found a Walter sign, I pulled it out, threw it in the back of our car until we finally had enough to fill your whole
Yeah,
yard with
there,
them.
there was a lot of signs.
Well, and he did lose the election, so
Yes.
that's
all
on
is right
you,
with the
Joel.
world.
That's on you.
But now
He
guess what?
saved the city.
Now he's on the neighborhood board of
Ooh.
whatever it is out there. So.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
just like hungry for power.
He is,
right?
yes. Luckily, I've moved from there now, and so he can have whatever he wants.
Sure.
There you go.
That's why you moved, right?
Yeah, that
I
was a
get
big
it.
part of it, of course.
I get it.
So when you guys started into that story, I thought you were about to tell the story of the time that we almost rear-ended each other because
Oh,
Walter was
that's a-
involved in that one too.
That's a good story.
So there we were.
You're talking about the story that when it happened, Everyone said, "We will never speak of this."
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember, but while they were saying we will never speak of this, I was on the cell phone talking to my brother, telling him exactly what just happened.
Well, we could have gotten a lot of trouble.
Oh, we could have, yeah.
Yeah, so we're on, this was in training. This is down in Texas, just outside of El Paso. We're training down there, and we're going down these dirt roads, and we just wanted to just bomb down these dirt roads as fast as we could because I think there were only 3 trucks, and we're just like taking jumps and stuff. And
We're
these
bumper to
Humvees.
bumper too. Like,
Oh, my gosh.
because they were saying like this is how it's going to be. You're going to drive really fast and really close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That way the enemy can't get between your convoy. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
which never actually panned out to be a real thing when we got in country. But anyway, we were just bombing down these dirt roads, hitting jumps. Well, I had a jump in front of me, and I hadn't been on this road before. I didn't know how big of a jump it was. I hit this sucker so hard, our Humvee caught so much air, and when we landed and bounced so hard, my helmet. So I'm driving, but my helmet, the chin strap, is still in place, but it kind of went under my chin, and the
my
helmet goes in
gosh.
front of my face, and it's stuck there.
Oh, no.
And I can't see anything, and I'm going fast.
now you were the lead vehicle too.
Yeah, I'm in the front.
and
We were right behind
Yeah,
you.
you guys were in the truck
I
behind
was
me.
driving the second vehicle.
And here's the thing: when you're the driver of the second vehicle, you can't see
can't see anything.
We're kicking
'Cause
up so much
yeah,
dirt.
we're driving
Yeah.
on dirt roads, so it's nothing but dust. You're driving in a cloud of
Oh,
dust.
man.
Now I do remember you could see his brake lights.
Yeah.
Flicker real quick.
Yeah,
That was midair. I'm midair looking at where we're going to land.
and there's a stop.
And there's a
Humvee.
stopped Humvee
Yeah.
right
Oh,
where we're
man.
going to land.
If I would have had time to think, I wouldn't have slammed on the brakes. But when the helmet falls in front of your face,
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh.
you kind of
you
just
just hit the brakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a Humvee going 70 miles an hour behind me, which is the fastest they will move. And it's coming right at me.
Oh, my gosh.
And we flew a long distance. And the other thing is, in that particular run that we did, we didn't have the gunners up in the turrets, which is a lucky thing.
Thank goodness.
Because I would have flown out of that turret.
you would have
Probably,
died.
the Humvee would have landed on top of me. Now, I don't know if you remember what happened when our Humvee landed. Remember I was in the back seat with those aluminum foil seats?
What used to be the back seat?
I went right through that seat. Do you remember that?
Yes,
the seat like bent
do.
inside
It
out.
caved in.
I went right into the hole, and my knees were like up to my chin. I'm like, help, guys. They had to pull me out.
And how much? Okay, now I got to give a lot of credit to you, Clyde, for some fast acting.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
you would always downplay your driving skills, but they were really on display this day because I don't know how you managed to avoid just smashing
Oh,
so hard
yeah, it was
into us.
close.
The only contact that was made between these two Humvees was on a reflector. I think the brush guard on your Humvee hit the reflector on the back of one of mine and broke that
Wow.
reflector.
Yeah, just like nicked it.
It was the grace of God.
Oh,
Yeah,
man. It
seriously.
was so close because it could have been so much worse.
Absolutely.
You should have slammed right into us.
I know. I really should have, and maybe Walter would have taken some heat for that.
Yeah, because Walter was kind of in charge of that little
Oh, yeah.
escapade.
No, and he would have totally rolled over on me and
Oh,
been
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, my driver doesn't know what he's doing."
I told him to slow down.
Oh my gosh. I have to say, Clyde is like a very good driver, but he's a very slow driver. Like, he's a cautious driver.
Get him in a Humvee.
Apparently, he needs a couple dudes in the car, like, cheering him on. Because,
Yeah.
seriously, every person I know calls Clyde an old man driver.
I do not exceed the speed limit. I don't know why driving exactly the speed limit makes you an old man. I don't get it.
Well, you got to go 5 over.
Yeah.
I never do.
Everybody knows that, Clyde.
I never do.
You would fit right in Washington where I live. Everybody drives so slow on the freeway. It doesn't matter which lane. There's no fast lane and slow
Oh,
lane.
yeah.
And it just irks
Oh,
me to no
yeah.
end.
Now, when
can't
you say
stand
they're driving slow, are you talking below speed limit or
No,
exactly
they do the speed limit. It's so annoying.
That is slow.
Rosie, we're moving to Washington.
Oh my
this is
gosh.
where my people are.
No.
Hey, it's growing on me. We've lived there, I don't know, almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
The longer I live there, I don't want to leave. It's just a lot of good things about that place.
I mean, if we could talk Smythe into moving with us, I would be okay with
I know.
that. But
Have a constant 3-skin reunion.
3-skin in Washington.
Unfortunately, my job won't transfer me out to Washington. Well, I guess maybe, but I don't want to live in Washington.
I didn't either till I did. Now I do.
How long did it take before you were
Yeah.
like, I like it?
Was it like
A
a month
couple
ago?
years. Here's a couple of things. People think that so in Western Washington it does rain a lot, but that's all people think of.
Mm-hmm.
But it never rains hard. It just kind of drizzles. And the weather's nice year round, and I'm big into running lately, and I can run year round there. It's never too hot to run. It's never too cold to run. And it's always beautiful. There's waterfalls, there's hiking, there's mountains, there's coasts, there's beach. It's all there. It's the whole package.
Hippies.
Oh, okay. So I'm talking the positives. If you want to talk, it's also got Chaz. So
With you going to Washington, you're saying you like it now. Are you becoming like a Seahawks fan, like fully ingratiated into Seattle culture and Washington culture?
I never cared about the Seahawks before I went there, but everybody loves the Seahawks. They're big on the 12th man. It's just a huge thing there. And I didn't care for the longest time, but just this last football season, I finally started watching the Seahawks. I got excited when Marshawn Lynch came back. Like, it's slowly happening to me. Mariners, though, I mean, they just suck so much. I mean, how do you get into the Mariners?
Dude, I caught a ball at a Mariners game.
No, you didn't catch the ball. The ball caught you.
Okay, I got whacked by a ball.
A foul ball? A home run?
It was a ball that they hit and it flew. We was
We was.
we was right behind. No, we were right behind the batting, and it flew
So a foul
up.
ball came back and hit you?
Where did it hit
Yeah.
you?
So I saw it coming like right at me. So I did this. I
Yeah.
crossed my arms. I as if the audience
Yeah.
can see.
I'm
my
doing
fucking-
this. Look what
So
I'm
I
doing.
crossed my arms to protect my face.
Yeah.
And I had
Right in the forearm?
I
Could
had
you see the
huge-
stitches?
That's the
of
best
the ball?
I
bruise
had
if you can see the
huge
stitches.
bruises, and then it flew like 4 rows up, and some guy was like, "Oh, it's my ball!"
You didn't even get it?
And then everybody in that entire section started screaming at that guy and was like, "Give her that ball!
Oh,
That is
good.
her ball!" And
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I'm pretty like non-confrontational, but I feel like there's certain situations where you got to fight. And like
Yeah.
if some kid gets hit with a ball and then some jackass is like,
Yeah.
"My ball." It's like, "Sorry, man. It's time to
How
go."
old were you?
I was, I was in middle school, so I don't know, probably like 13, maybe. Yeah.
So you're a Mariners fan forever now? Is that the point of that?
Yeah, like
Yeah, but they suck so bad.
Now, here's the thing. Whoever hit the ball, the club actually came out and told her that whoever hit the ball would be willing to sign the ball.
Ooh.
And I like to believe it was Ken Griffey
It was
Jr.
obviously-
It was obviously Griffey.
Yeah.
Right?
It could have been no one else.
Yeah, I mean,
The one good player who's ever been on the Mariners.
yeah.
yes.
Wasn't Ken Griffey Sr. all right, too?
He was on the Reds.
I thought they put on the same
Oh,
team
he
for a little
came
while.
back
for a very
yeah.
short time. But I'm guessing he wasn't good by that point. That
They hit
when I was
back-to-back
like-
home runs.
Did they?
Yeah, that was like one of
Wow.
the best moments in
Yeah.
baseball history. But
Well, here's the thing about little Rosie is I was so cripplingly shy that I took the ball and I was like, "No, thank you," and I just put it in my bag and then I tried to become invisible.
Dude, you probably gave Ken
You-
Griffey
yeah.
a complex. He's like, "That kid doesn't even want my autograph."
Not only that, but that ball would be worth so much money right now.
I know.
I know. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Sorry,
I like
guys.
how we're convinced it's him. Oh, yeah. It was probably like Todd Jenkins.
I mean, I know the specimen of Rosie that you see now. You think I've always been this way, but it's taken a lot of grooming to become this Rosie.
We like this, Rosie.
Yeah. I'd like to take credit for most of that grooming.
Yeah. I don't know.
What? Welcome to the Glory Days, where we talk sports. Today I bring you two men who have perhaps the two best dad bods I've ever seen. The first, a man fifth graders refer to as Toothpick Beard Guy. This world-renowned beard stuffer owns 7 Guinness World Records. Standing at 5'11", 212 pounds, but 215 when his beard is full of golf tees. Joel Nert. Sitting to his left, a man who, like many legends, including Madonna, Ichiro, and Socrates, only goes by one name. This mononymous giant grows one of the sexiest mustaches I have ever seen, but chooses to shave it because he does not support child molestation. This crafty fella somehow figured out how to get through 6 years in the army without taking a PT test. Standing at 6'3", 220 pounds, Smythe. Sit back and enjoy their glory days.
It's just a phase, those glory days. I'd like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous.
So there's a segment that we do on the podcast called Glory Days. I'm kind of curious, do you guys have a Glory Days experience?
My coach, if he would have put me in, I'd be playing in the NFL right now. But
Really?
he kept benching me, so I never got to. I mean, I could throw a football over those mountains over there right now if you want.
I'd like to see that.
I didn't play high school sports. I worked. So from age 14 on, I just worked and stopped. I did cross country before that, and then it was just working. It's actually one of my big regrets. My friends all played football. I wish I would have played football, but I never did.
You know, I wish I would have played football too. Here's the thing. My brother was an all-star football player. Like,
That's the worst.
He played, I don't know if anybody knows who Jake Plummer is, but he played high school football with Jake
The
Plummer.
snake.
Yes. And Jake Plummer called him one of his favorite receivers. And my brother was a sophomore when he was a senior.
Wow.
So he was an all-star football player. I get into high school, right? The football coach sees me. I was a big kid. He comes up to me and he's like, "You're going to play football, right?" Because my brother did.
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I'm in the band." Yeah. So I actually did play baseball, though. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. I played baseball my whole life. Played in high school. I was all excited, and I was the backup first baseman, which I thought, okay, at least that's my position. I love first base. Backup first baseman. Partway through the year, the starting first baseman breaks his ankle skiing.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm thinking, I made it. I'm going to be the starting first baseman. I'm so excited.
This is my chance.
Yeah, exactly. And then what the coach does is brings in the left fielder to play first base.
Oh no.
And I continue being the backup first baseman. Yep. Sat on the bench my whole sophomore year, and then next year I was like, I'm not going to play baseball.
You would have been the next Kevin Youkilis. How do you put your
I probably would have been, whoever that is.
You missed your. You don't know Kevin Youkilis?
Is that really somebody?
Yeah, he was
one of the best first basemen
One of the best
ever.
backup first basemen ever?
I wouldn't say best ever.
Well, he played for my team. So.
Yeah, just because he played for the Red Sox does not make him the best ever.
Indeed, it does.
Now, Bill Buckner, on the other hand.
All right, could we just have a moment of silence for Bill Buckner?
Yes, Bill
I know
Buckner.
you guys are both big fans of Bill Buckner.
And so are you. Don't lie.
Okay.
Joel, you actually met Bill Buckner, which
I did.
Rosie right now is like, this is the worst moment of her life. So can we first explain who Bill Buckner is?
You want this one or should I?
I think you should.
So Bill Buckner should be a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He played
Baseball
for several
player.
teams. Baseball. He played for several teams. Was one of the best batters ever. He one of his amazing stats is has to do with strikeouts. I wish I could quote it by heart, but he never struck out more than he had a hit in the game or something like that, which is amazing. And anyway, 1986 World Series, Game 6, Red Sox versus the Mets, 10th inning. The Red Sox were actually up. The Red Sox had been leading this game, but there was a whole series of errors by their pitchers. They took a couple pitchers out. The pitchers did horrible. They kept throwing, wild pitches and stuff like that to load the bases. And now nobody remembers any of the stuff I just said. All everyone knows is that Mookie Wilson hit a soft ground ball straight at Bill Buckner.
Easy play.
And he should have got him out, but instead the ball went through his legs. And then the Mets won that game. And everybody railed on Bill Buckner. His name became the GOAT of baseball. He became the punching bag of baseball forever.
Oh, wow.
But he was such a good player.
It just takes one through the legs
Yeah.
to become
Oh.
the worst.
I mean, as a backup first baseman, I could have made that play.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have. He had another thing people don't know is he had bad feet. He had big problems with his feet that year, and they
He had
usually
ankle
took him out.
injury,
Yeah,
right?
They usually took him out when games by that point in the game, but the coach wanted him in the game to be on the field when they won because they were about to win the World Series.
Oh, wow.
And that's why he kept him because he was such a good player, and they would have never got there without him. Well, anyways, the one thing everybody knew him for was for that, which is really unfortunate. So fast forward beyond that, he's now retired. He owned a farm here in town, and I used to work on that dairy, and I saw him all the time. I didn't know who he was. My boss told me, hey, you know who that guy is? He used to play in the MLB. And I'm like, who is it? And my boss said, Bill Buckner. I'm like, the Bill Buckner?
Oh my gosh.
Because I really looked up to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, you know way too much about this guy.
Yeah, well, you know,
So-
man crush. Unfortunately, he just passed away just about a year ago. But anyways,
I'm
he
sorry
would
to hear that.
Yeah,
It's like your best
It must have
friend.
been hard on you.
it was. But
How many days of silence did you have?
I had a full day, a full
full day.
24 hours.
Excellent.
Yeah, my wife thought it was so strange, but
Yeah.
I gathered up all my baseball cards of Bill Buckner. I go to his house because it's right there where I worked. I knocked on the door unannounced. I'm just going to show up to his home with my cards because I didn't know that would be weird as a like
Yeah.
14-year-old.
That is weird.
And his daughter answered the door. She was really cute, and I was like stammering. I was so like shy. And she's like, yeah, who are you? And I'm like, I work at the dairy over there. Is Bill Buckner home?
Oh my gosh.
She's like, Dad, there's another one.
No, he wasn't home. And I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, can I just leave my cards here and come back and get them later? And she's like, I guess. And so I came back the next day and he answered the door. And I was like, hey, I work at the farm there. And I wanted you to sign my baseball cards. And he's like, oh, I saw him on the counter. Come in. He was the nicest guy. He was like totally awesome. He signed my cards. He got this portrait and like signed it for me also. And he's just a cool guy. He's like, you like baseball? We like talked baseball. I wasn't playing Little League. He was a guy who he took so much crap forever from everybody for one moment. Yet he did not turn into a bitter, like angry guy. He was just like totally cool.
So when he asked you, you like baseball? Did he say like, did you happen to see the 86 World Series? You're like, no, I missed that one. All right, come on in.
I never brought up the incident when I talked to him.
But you were aware of the incident
Oh, yeah.
when you went to
Yeah.
his house?
Yeah, because I was always a Red Sox fan. But I always thought it was crappy the way people treated him. I always just could not believe that a player who was so good, who they never would have got to the World Series without him.
Yeah.
Everybody just turned on him. In fact, the three of us, didn't all three of us start that little Forgive Bill Buckner fan club?
Yeah.
We made shirts and everything. This was like when we
my
were
gosh.
deployed together. It was just like a funny thing we did. But
Yeah, you had shirts for Give Bill Buckner. But then the Red Sox won that year.
that was
won the
like
World Series.
2004, I think.
Yeah.
And then the Red Sox won, and then they did. I'd like to say our little petition was successful because after the Red
gosh.
Sox won the World Series, like the fans decided to do an official forgiveness of Bill Buckner night.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're like, okay, we finally won the World Series. 20 years later, we forgive you. Or,
Yeah, they invited him out. He
Wow.
threw the first pitch of the game. I saw it on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
He got real emotional after the game, talking about how great it felt to be forgiven by Boston.
Yeah, I think he said something like, all these years, I've only had one fan, this 14-year-old boy. He was the only fan until now.
It's like this really cool kid. Kind of had the hots for my daughter, but really cool kid. Was her name Brooke by chance?
That is a hot name.
That is.
I don't know what her name was.
It's just a phase, those glory days. I like to believe that if my coach believed in me, I'd be famous.
I would just like to say there are certain names out there where, and sorry, I shouldn't be saying this in front of my wife, but it's true. There's certain names out there that I've never seen an ugly one, right? And Brooke
yeah.
is one of
If
those
there's a
names.
Brooke out there anywhere,
I
I would be willing to give Clyde to you. So
Yeah. I'm willing to
reach
go.
out anytime.
There's never been a not hot Brooke.
I hate to disagree with you, but there is.
What?
I've now on the outset, whatever. I would agree with you. That is a hot sounding name. In fact, I used to believe the same thing, and my wife was talking a couple of years ago about her new friend Brooke, and I'm like, huh? Oh, well, have her over. Let's have her over for dinner. You know. Well, I met Brooke. She's not hot. She's not. Nope. She
disappointing.
might be an exception to your rule. But no, sorry.
I'm convinced that every name has an ugly person.
But some names lend themselves well to hotness. I'm just
Sure.
and Brooke is one of them. I
Sure.
just happen to have had a bad experience with a Brooke.
I think all people are beautiful.
Wow,
Well, how very
that is
Yeah.
so
diplomatic
big
of you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, working in a school, I had this kid come up to me and he said, "Hey, my mom knows you." And I was like, "Okay, who's your mom?" And he's like, "Heather." Right? Heather's one of those names. Like I've met very few like unattractive Heathers in my life. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm thinking about like, okay, a Heather I went to high school with, and there's only one I can remember, right? And I'm like, oh yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, I know your mom. I think I know her. And so I'm asking, like, was her last name this? But of course, you know, they get married and change their last names. He's like, no, I don't know her last name or whatever. So
Isn't that a weird concept that your kids might not actually know the name you're born with?
I know. I'm like, dude, what's your grandpa's last name on your mom's side? Like, come on, stop making this hard for me, right? But the kid's like just clueless. He's like, oh, I don't know, right? So finally, we're having the school carnival, and this girl comes up to me. And, like, the kid's dragging her over, and he's like, Mom, here's Mr. November. You went to high school with him. And it was kind of what Smythe was talking about earlier. I'm like, we did? I don't remember you at all.
Did she age well?
Well, I went back and looked in the yearbook. She was never
Oh,
of the caliber for the name Heather. I'm just
She was
saying.
beautiful on the inside.
Exactly.
yeah, that's what
Exactly.
you're trying to say.
Great personality, I'm sure. I mean, I didn't know the personality, but
It was probably great.
sometimes
But it was obvious that it was great.
You can tell sometimes. You know?
Yeah. Well, speaking of kids, like, not knowing the name of their mother was born with or whatever, our kids said something really interesting to me the other day. They're like, Mom, there's so much we don't know about you. And I think we're going to have this profound conversation. Like, oh, they're going to ask me, like, about, you know, my education or, like, something exciting. And I'm like, really, buddy? Like, what do you want to know? Yeah, let's talk about it. You know, I'm awesome. Like, let's talk about this. He's like, what's your favorite color? I'm like, turquoise. Like, do you have any other questions? Like,
No, that's it.
Like, all right.
And then
Says
they,
a lot
like,
about a
know it
person.
all.
then they run off. Like, that's it? And I'm thinking, like, I thought we were going to have so much more depth to this conversation.
You're so disappointed now.
Yeah, exactly. So then I go talk to Clyde. I'm like, Clyde, do you want to know anything about me? And
Just your favorite color.
Well, one of my kids, their favorite color is gray, and I've never met a person before
wow.
Wow.
whose favorite color was gray.
Is that a color?
Yeah, it's a color. I
I
think
think it's a tint or a shade
Yeah.
or something.
But
I think it's a shade, and I think there's like 50 of
it's
them.
been nice segue.
Yikes.
And the nice guy comes out of left field
I know.
with the perverted
Where's this
comment.
conversation
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, I'd actually rather explore the topic you just brought up.
Can I just say something real quick about that? So,
Yes.
So I, for my job, I'm out in public a lot, and I go to people's houses and stuff. And I was at an apartment complex once, walking down a hallway, and a girl just came out of her apartment and was walking past me. Mm-hmm. And right before she got to me, she dropped a book on the ground, and it was 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow.
And
I think she was like
we
hinting.
felt awkward.
Was she trying to come on to you?
Yeah. Any chance
You know, I
this
never
girl's
thought about
name was Brooke?
I think it was Heather.
Well, you are hot, so I mean, I get it.
I know. Everyone wants
I
to.
drop books in front of you all the time.
Everyone wants to sleep with the hot delivery guy, you know?
Exactly.
Which, speaking of which, maybe now's a good time to talk about Smythe's job.
I hear his package always delivers. So
Is this true?
Yes.
on time to the customer satisfaction.
Whether big or small, I deliver them all. Oh, man, don't get me started on dogs.
Oh man,
Yeah, I want to hear about dogs.
I hate dogs.
They're like the nemesis, right?
We've had
of
this
every
conversation.
I think I've only
delivery
been
person.
bit 3 times.
Oh my gosh!
Only one of those 3 times was, like, bad.
Wow.
Luckily, it was on the shorts, not on the bare skin. And so it just punctured my leg. It didn't tear my leg open. But, man, I had the biggest bruise ever
Oh my gosh!
from that chomp.
I used to have a job where I went to people's houses all the time, and I should clarify. A minute ago, I said I hate dogs. I don't hate dogs, but I do hate dog owners,
Oh yeah,
and the ones that always say, "Oh, he's nice.
Every
he doesn't
time.
bite."
Every time.
yeah.
And I always
No,
wanna
he's nice
say-
to you. He
Yeah.
won't
Yeah.
bite you.
He likes
Loves
you.
you.
I am a stranger.
Yes.
He hates me. You are an
Yeah.
idiot, by
I
the
am
way.
a stranger invading his territory.
Yeah, exactly. This is his backyard.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks you're threatening his family.
I was on somebody's roof one time, The dog tried to tear my face off when I knocked on their door. I had to go up on their roof. And the lady's like, oh, he's so nice. Don't worry. I'm like, well, if you let go of him right now, I'm dead. And then I go set up my ladder in the backyard because that's the easiest place to access the roof. I'm up there, and this brainless lady opens the sliding door because the dog's trying to get out. He's trying to get out because he wants to kill me. And I'm like almost up the ladder when she opens the sliding door, and he comes running out.
Oh my gosh.
Jumps up, hits the ladder. I'm like diving onto the roof as he hits the ladder. My ladder goes down. Now I'm trapped on the roof. The dog's like circling around there, just like going crazy. And this brainless lady's like walking around on the phone inside, just completely clueless. And I'm stuck up there.
Oh my gosh. You're like, I'm going to die on this roof. This is the end
luckily
of me.
I had my cell phone and I had her phone number in a little folder with me. So I do my thing. I get to take measurements, pictures, all this stuff. And then I call her. Mm-hmm. Well, she doesn't answer because she doesn't recognize the number and she's already on the phone. I just keep calling and calling and calling.
Oh my gosh.
Pretty soon I'm just stomping on the roof, just boom, 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 boom. And I hated that lady so much. And usually I'm like trying to be professional and nice. But when she finally came in the backyard, I'm like, your stupid dog almost killed me, knocked my ladder down here, and I've been calling you. And by the way, this whole thing I'm here for, it's not going to go well for you.
Oh my gosh.
The worst experience I had, I think, was I delivered to a house, and as I was walking back away from the house, the guy opens the door, his dogs are inside the house, and all of a sudden he sends them outside. Two dogs. Sends them outside. And I don't know if you know how dogs work, but dogs like to surround the enemy.
Oh, yes.
And so they're on each side of me.
Great.
If you face a dog, chances are you're going to be okay. As long as you face the dog. You can't face two dogs at once.
No.
They surround me on each side. And so I'm like trying to face them both, and it's not possible. I finally yelled out, and the guy opened his front door, and I said, your dogs are trying to attack me. And the guy says, just hold your hand down by them. They just need to sniff you.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
no, I'm not going to put my hand in front of this dog's mouth.
Here, a piece of meat for you.
Yeah.
Is that like official training that you've received? Like, you got to face the dog?
It is actually, yeah.
Do they have like a video to watch or?
They have different, training things that we go through where they talk about you always face the dog. And I don't know if you've ever turned your back to an aggressive dog, but they'll run up right at your heels.
Oh, wow.
But if you face them, they'll typically stay a few feet back from you. So you always want to face the dog. And another thing I've heard is, and we actually have had canine police department people come and talk to us about dogs. Uh-huh. And the problem is when you walk up to a house and there's a dog behind the window barking at you, and then you walk away, the dog feels like, okay, I won this fight.
Sure.
So they get even more excited and aggressive the next time you come. Because they're like, oh, I beat him last time, so I'm going to beat him this time. And then pretty soon they're out front and they feel so powerful because they've won every single time that then they're even more likely to come at you. And so, I don't know.
So you're supposed to like back away from the house or something and just like give the dog the finger as you back away? Or
there was one guy that I know of once that he walked up to the window and the dog was like growling and barking at him, and he just stood by the window and just stared at the dog. He didn't walk away from the house, he just stood there and stared at it until the dog stopped barking.
Wow.
And then he walked away.
So he won.
Wow, he won.
So maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
He's got to win.
If I had a half an hour to spend at each house, I'd try
Get
that.
fired for not delivering enough packages. But do you have like a quota you have to meet with your packages?
Yeah, they have a little daily plan thing that they say you should be delivering this many per hour.
What if the package says 2-man lift? Do you ever lift it by yourself?
We say, yeah, thanks for the sticker. Yeah, you always lift it by yourself. I mean, there's very, very few people call somebody to help them because they know if you call somebody to help them, then they can't do their own stuff.
So we bought a big screen TV, and it's like a 2-man lift, but the thing is not heavy.
Yeah.
Clyde just like throws the thing over his shoulder and like walks it in, no problem.
Did you had this shipped to your house?
No, I think we picked it up somewhere.
Okay, that's smart.
Yeah.
Big
we
screen
did
TVs.
try the shipping before, and every time it came back broken.
I've heard that a lot.
So finally, we just took it back to Best Buy or wherever we were, got one, and drove it home.
Yeah.
But Clyde had no problem lifting this thing that had a sticker that
I'm
said...
quite the specimen.
Yeah,
I can lift
buff.
a team lift, you know?
Yeah.
Whoa. Put your shirt back on.
Yeah, no kidding. My best accomplishment is a Christmas tree. Like,
Oh, yeah.
That one was actually hard, and I may have thrown my back out, but I still lifted it.
I'd like to see you lift a 1990s big screen TV. That's the real.
Oh,
test.
yeah.
Don't
No.
even try that.
That's not even a 2-man lift. That's like a 4-man lift.
Oh my gosh. I have a person that I know that recently got rid of one of those gigantic TVs. It was like in her basement for years, you know? And I don't think this is legal, but she literally took it into her backyard and just stripped it into pieces, and every week would just shove parts of it.
That's what you do.
Into a trash can. But like her stories about demolishing this gigantic TV are just very fascinating to me.
Well, okay, so one thing, when I used to live in Wyoming, there were free landfills in every town, and you didn't have to pay anything. You just bring truckloads of stuff and dump it. And now I live in Washington, and you got to pay like $100 to dump things. So what do you think people do?
Yeah.
They just dump it
You
places.
figure out another way.
Yeah, and like I have a mattress I had to get rid of, and they were like, it's going to be $200 if you leave it out by your can, or you can bring it to the landfill and you could pay like $75.
Oh my gosh.
Are you kidding me? I'm going to find an alley and do what everyone else does now. Now I get it. Now I know why
Yeah.
our town looks like
No,
trash.
you
Are
take
people
that out in the backyard and burn it and make a YouTube video.
I might as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you guys ever gone back and watched movies that you loved that just did not hold up whatsoever?
Yes, I have. Oh, do you want me to expound on that?
Was it Field of Dreams by chance?
No,
you,
Field of Dreams holds up. How dare you?
you know what movie? I've had this rant before. You know what movie I'm going to say, don't you? What movie that I loved when I was a little kid?
Rocky.
Is it starring Stallone?
Okay, you guys.
Was that for real?
You were
No,
really close,
it's
Rosie,
not
because
Rocky.
you said Rocky. but-
Rambo?
No, not Rambo. Come on. Rambo's always good. So is Rocky. Thank you very
Can
much.
I tell them the movie
Yes,
you're talking about?
please do.
I don't remember for sure the name, but I think it's Over the Top.
That's the one.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's
When
an
I-
arm wrestling
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was the best movie ever. It was
What
just
what was the famous quote from that movie? Isn't there a famous quote?
Oh, probably. I don't even remember it.
I can't remember.
But it was the coolest movie. He arm wrestles everybody. Like, that's a thing. He goes on this championship circuit
Wow.
and stuff. And then I watch it again as an adult, and I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing I have ever seen. Like, Stallone, why?
You know, there's a good chance that quote I was thinking of is Over the Top.
Oh, maybe it is.
That
Yeah.
might be
Oh,
it.
yeah. Well, that's what he would say when he would arm wrestle.
Yeah,
'cause
so now
he'd start as
don't
soon
we
as he'd
feel
go
like idiots.
over the top.
Yeah.
That's when he knew he was going to win.
I think they would say, "Over the top, Rocky! Over the top!"
His name wasn't Rocky.
Close enough.
I don't know what his
Every
name was.
Stallone's character should be Rocky.
Rocky or Rambo.
Exactly.
Which
One
I
of the
hate to
two.
say this, but one of my all-time favorite movies of my childhood, which is Rocky IV, didn't hold up for me when I saw it when I was older.
You're dead to me.
Now, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, okay? Because I do still love it, but I'm willing to admit that this movie I love doesn't hold up. And here's why. There's about 30 minutes of that movie that is just like flashbacks from the other movies, and it's like these random music videos
yeah,
in
there's
the
a
middle
there's a
of
pretty good montage.
the movie. Yeah, montage. That's the word I'm looking for. And then they're fighting in Russia, yet in like the 8th round, all the Russian fans randomly start cheering for Rocky.
Yeah, not realistic at all.
Yeah.
Does not make sense. But when I was a child watching that, I was like, this totally makes sense. They're
He won
buying
him over.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, that would have never happened. But in the worst line, now I'm not agreeing with you because I would think this movie does hold up. But the worst part is after he beats the Russian and they like everyone's cheering and they bring him the microphone. He's like, "If I could change, and you could change, everyone will change."
I know. It's such like propaganda
Oh, yeah,
to
totally.
like end the
Oh
Cold
my
War. People.
gosh.
And I submit, Rocky IV ended the Cold War.
That's true. So that's why I don't want to say it completely doesn't hold up. You know, how many movies can you say actually ended like a 50-year conflict?
But if you haven't seen Creed 2 and they bring Drago back with his son, it is a beautiful, beautiful piece of dramatic
I actually
cinema.
thought 2 was better than 1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. It was a stroke of genius bringing Drago back.
Now, I don't like calling that movie Creed 2. I call it Rocky 4 2.
Yeah.
That's-
yeah. Or
that's
just
what I've
Rocky
been
13
calling it.
or whatever they would be
No,
up to.
Rocky 4 2. It's the sequel to Rocky 4, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that makes sense to people.
That makes sense.
Dude, Stallone's still working. Like,
Yeah.
I saw an ad for a movie recently, and I'm like, dude, I thought that guy was like 100 years old, and he's still like
Did you
kicking
see
ass
the
and
newest
taking
Rambo?
names.
The newest Rambo is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Oh, it's great.
Is it like a lot of like though touch-up work going on?
No, he looks old. He looks old, but
Really?
he is tough. He's like old tough.
Which war is he kicking ass in now?
With Mexico, actually, he's at war with Mexico. He single-handedly
One
said
man
war. With,
war.
yeah, and of course, I don't want spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, he wins. So
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Go figure. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't seen a single Rambo movie.
none of them.
Not a single.
I couldn't tell you which one I've seen, or if I've seen multiple. I know I watched Rambo when I was a kid.
Joel's
but
about to lose it.
My homework assignment to you: Rambo marathon.
I have seen Hot Shots Part 2.
it's just as good.
Yeah, which I'm assuming.
Okay, you've
that
basically
means
seen all the
I've
Rambos.
seen all the Rambos. So
You know, I haven't watched many movies since high school, to be honest with you.
Really?
My wife loves movies, loves going to movies, and I don't
Don't.
know. I fall asleep. So I can't really think of any that didn't hold up because I don't think I've watched any. But I do have to say, Back to the Future, best trilogy ever.
Dude,
Agreed.
I was just gonna say Back to the Future.
Oh, I love those
So our
movies.
kids, it just came out on like one of the streaming networks.
Oh, yeah.
And we watched all three, and I was like, wow, that actually did hold up. Like,
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
have great expectations as a young person watching them, but yeah, if you have no expectations, it holds up.
Even in
there's
the
some good ones.
context of the 80s, and kids today can watch it, and like when my kids watched it, they still really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I was worried a little bit that like it's all based in the 80s, and all of their future travel is like to somewhere back, and then back to the 80s, forward back to the 80s. So I thought that they wouldn't be able to keep up or wouldn't like it. No, they still got it, and they still really liked it.
I hate to say this to you guys, but there's certain movies that if you didn't see when you were a child aren't good. And Back to the Future is one of those movies.
Well, you were already dead to me. Now you're
Yeah.
double.
Are you saying you never saw that as a child?
I never saw it as a child. The first time I saw it actually was when we were in New Mexico. This would have been 2005, 2004.
And you.
It was with you, Joel.
But are you about to say where I think you're going with this? Is that you didn't really like it?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
exactly how I felt about Star Wars.
So good.
You're dead to me.
Star Wars.
Everyone's dead to everyone. You've got to like. Everyone must like what everyone else likes.
You have to like the movies I like, or I don't like you.
Seriously, when Clyde, and I think we've told this story on the podcast before, so I apologize for our listeners, but when Clyde made me sit through all of the Star Wars movies, and I did not cry or get even an ounce of emotion over it, he couldn't understand me anymore. It was like I
Did
was
you know
no longer
that-
an okay person in his
So
life.
this is really interesting to me because there's not a lot of people out there that could possibly do this. So you watched them in order, I assume. Did you already know that Vader was going to be Luke's dad before it revealed it, or was it revealed to you as you watched
Well, I
it?
think that's such pop culture that everybody kind of knows that.
Okay, because I
You
just
know?
really want to see somebody see that and experience it because none of us got to do that.
Right.
Me and you, Smythe, were so young. In fact, I don't even think I was born when Empire Strikes Back came out. I think it came out before I was born.
I remember seeing one of them in the theater,
Probably
but I
Return
don't
of the
remember
Jedi.
which one. Yeah, it might have been.
But I would just love to see someone experience that
Yeah.
discovery and see how it affected.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when I first saw Empire Strikes Back, I was faking sick from school one day, and my mom went to the video rental store, rented Empire, and I'm watching it, and I get near the end of the movie where they're doing the lightsaber battle, and something was wrong with the tape, like it was corrupted. Like it kept stopping, and then it would just automatically rewind as if it was the end of the tape, and so we were trying to get past this one bad spot, and it just wasn't working. And so I was sitting there feeling like, oh man, I'm missing the end of the lightsaber battle. So I like cried. I begged my mom for the movie. You know, I was like, can we go to a different rental store? And she's like, no. And so that year for Christmas, I end up getting Empire Strikes Back. And I had no idea what was in store for me. I was excited to watch it just because I wanted to see how the lightsaber battle ended. But I didn't know the big reveal that was going to come. So for me, it was like, I watched that movie and I thought I basically got the whole movie, but man, was I in for a surprise. It was a big moment in my life. I remember it's like my all-time twist, you know.
I know that I already knew before I even started watching it. Somebody had told me that, so
Yeah.
I didn't get to experience the twist.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah. And I don't know how my siblings didn't like spoil it for me.
And here's another thing. I like the new ones better than the old ones.
Which new ones though? There's
well, I mean,
you're wrong either
new-ish.
way, but which
Right.
but which new ones are you talking
Like,
about?
I like the ones that they made episodes 1, 2, and whatever.
Okay, so you're very wrong. So you're a fan of Jar Jar Binks, is what you're telling me.
I mean, he's not terrible.
Yeah,
like,
Oh. I'm sorry, guys.
I don't remember if you were already dead to me, but you're dead to me.
You know, I've always been afraid
whatever.
to tell
You're
people.
in love with me. You know it.
Well, who isn't?
Right. Exactly.
I've always been afraid to tell people, but I never really got into any more Star Wars after the original 3.
You know, that's
Like,
fine.
I just didn't
I'm okay
get into it
with
that much.
I'm okay with
Dude,
that.
I like the little kid who's like flying around in the
no
bucket
young
thing
Anakin.
and- yeah.
No. The pod race.
Yeah, it's so cool.
He was
That's
the worst
horrible.
stinking actor
and
ever.
the princess's hair is always like really
the makeup.
cool.
There is nothing about episode 1 that's redeemable. Nothing.
Yeah.
They could leave it completely out. I mean, episode 2 was pretty good in comparison, and episode 3 I actually liked, but episode 1 could just like cease to exist. Sorry, you're just
It's
wrong.
fine.
You're
it's
wrong.
fine. It's fine. And it didn't help that Clyde showed it to me like on the original VHS tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Like unedited. Like
'cause
apparently they've improved them over the years, but
No.
I'm like,
All
Improving
their
is not the right word.
improvements are worsening them.
Yeah.
I like the
I
original.
just
Han
would
shot
like to point
first.
out, Clyde, that you have made the group of friends that you thought you wanted to have in middle school are sitting at like this table.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You're in with the Star Wars
I know.
crew.
I know. Well, honestly, one of my first conversations I ever had with Joel was about Star Wars, so...
And that conversation happened over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Every
my
time we had a
gosh.
new officer or somebody in our truck with us.
Oh, yeah. Every time someone would get in the truck with us, and we'd do this just to, like, I don't know, make
mess
them,
with people.
Yeah, make them mad or annoy them. But we'd say, "Excuse me, sir, we have a very important question for you. Who would win in a fight, the Millennium Falcon or the USS Enterprise?" Which we did steal from a movie, but...
And
my
we would
gosh.
take up different sides of the argument, and it didn't. We would switch off, and we.
Oh, yeah.
Our whole goal was to get the person who was in our truck for the first time to take a side, so that we could make fun of them.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Anyways, Millennium Falcon will definitely win.
Dude. So that's the side you're taking today. All right, let me tell you what Picard would have done to the Falcon.
All right, hold on. We're losing listeners.
We're losing listeners right now as we speak.
Anytime you bring up Star Trek, you're going to lose listeners.
Oh, true that.
What?
Star Trek is horrible.
Ugh.
Dude, I grew up on that
I wouldn't
stuff.
say it's horrible. Come
would.
on, come now.
I
Come
was
now.
going easy on it by saying that.
There, you can have room in your heart for the Trek and the Wars.
No, you cannot.
Oh man, Chris Pine. There's just nothing better.
No, I mean that franchise was already
No.
horrible.
Shatner is the only Kirk for me,
Not
not Chris Pine.
for me.
So when we were in Iraq, there was this weird fad that was going around where people would, and it's not just Iraq, it's anywhere, but you go into a outhouse, one of those like porta-johns, and people write stuff on the wall. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Things written on the wall by soldiers, just don't read them.
Oh
Just
yeah,
don't.
it's like
You will get dumber.
Yeah, it's like
Oh
the
my
worst
gosh.
stuff ever. But sometimes you go in there, you know, sit down for 15, 20 minutes trying to poop.
Oh.
And you're just reading all this garbage written on the wall, right? My favorite thing ever written was, no, I shouldn't say it. It's too
Yeah,
dirty. Claudia will be mad at me, so I better not. But this one time I go into this bathroom and I sit down and I look at the wall and it says, "I love William Shatner." And I was like, oh my gosh, Joel's going to get a kick out of this because he loves William Shatner.
Yeah. I wonder who wrote that.
Yeah, so I come out and I tell him, and he just has this giggle. And then I started noticing every time he had to go to the bathroom, he'd always look for his Sharpie before leaving.
I carried a Sharpie with
Oh
me
my
in Iraq
gosh.
everywhere I went, just so I could write that at eye level above that little urine slot, like on the side of the porta-john.
Oh my god!
And I would just write "I love William Shatner" over. I must have written that into like 150, 200 porta-johns.
Oh, yeah. It got to the point where you could tell which porta-john you had been in because you would always tag it.
Yeah, it was my trademark.
So here on the podcast, we have a thing where we talk about like our drug of choice as an adult. Clyde's
Benadryl.
is Benadryl. Mine is sleeping pills. So I'm really curious to know, boys, like, what is your drug of choice as a grown adult?
Methamphetamines. No,
You are so full of crap.
I'm a Pepsi person. Pepsi is my drug of choice. I cannot get enough of it.
Yeah, but if you're not feeling well, like, what's the first thing that you hit?
Pepsi.
Yeah, I just answered your question. No, NyQuil.
Oh,
NyQuil.
yeah, that's a good one.
Don't you just love that warm NyQuil
Yes.
feeling?
Yes.
It's a nice
That's
warm.
mine too, NyQuil.
You can't take his. Is that really yours?
It really is. That's what I was
He
going to say.
he can have
Here's
it.
the thing. Because there's times I have a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah.
So my wife bought me some of that Z-Quil stuff.
Oh, it's not the same.
No, I can't stand it. I'm like, I'm going to fake it cold so I can just drink the NyQuil and not feel guilty about it because I don't like the Z-Quil.
And you don't use the little cup. You just swig it right from the bottle and you keep going
I
until
use
until
the
you
little
feel like
cup.
you've got enough.
I use the little cup. I just overfill it. And then after I drink it, I lick the rest of it out.
The cup can't
Oh
get
my
full
gosh.
enough. Is the
I love the
problem.
flavor too.
It grows
My
on you.
wife can't stand it, but man, I love that flavor.
And when I get sick, like, I'm not going to buy one NyQuil bottle. I'm going to go to the store that sells the two. They're like shrunk wrapped
Oh,
together.
yeah.
2-pack. I love
Yeah,
that.
because I might start feeling better before I'm through with the first one, but I'm going to polish off both of those. It's like a nightly routine until I run out of NyQuil.
I do have to say though, if I'm still awake and there's people in the house, like guests, it's not good because I end up saying stuff that I shouldn't say.
Really?
Like,
Example?
yeah, I mean, it's not nothing like embarrassing. It's just stupid stuff. Like, I just remember my mother-in-law and father-in-law were over, and I had just taken some NyQuil.
Oh, no.
And we're sitting there talking. All of a sudden, I start telling them about how when I wake up in the night and I go to the bathroom, I lean against the wall, and why do I say that? I mean, like, why would you say that to anybody?
Well, it
I don't
makes
know.
sense when you're drunk on NyQuil.
Yeah. I
You
was
said
like-
that to like 1,500 people on this podcast.
I didn't
Yeah, so
realize.
let's get back into that. How do you lean against the
Is
wall?
this thing still on?
Oh, we stopped recording hours ago,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
exactly. Yeah, I guess sleeping pills kind of make me do weird stuff too. I actually I'm not allowed to have prescription level sleeping pills in this house anymore. So I got to stick to like the melatonin and the more natural stuff
Yeah.
because the actual sleeping pills.
I've heard you get crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
She gets wild.
It was crazy time. But probably the most hilarious thing that ever happened was I was butt naked,
Go on.
ping ponging,
Tell me more.
literally ping ponging off the walls
I'm
to
not
get
sure what that move is, but
to the fridge, and Clyde found me covered in barbecue sauce.
What the? We just took a hard left turn here.
Dude, the shit gets weird when she's on sleeping pills.
And I was eating ribs like cold that we had left
Leftover
over.
ribs.
And
I have never heard anything sexier than the last 10 seconds of dialogue out of your mouth, Rosie.
I am definitely a rib guy.
I mean, honestly, we were on the rocks at the time, but it saved our marriage.
anyways, Clyde finds me, and I remember him like entering the room, and he was trying to take the ribs from me.
Did you growl at him?
These are my ribs.
Teen Wolf.
And he's like, I think you've had enough with those prescription sleeping pills. I woke up in the morning. I smelled like barbecue sauce. And I was like, what happened last night? I remembered none of it.
And I still had the flavor of barbecue sauce in my mouth, so
Anyways, so I'm not allowed to take those anymore.
I can still taste that barbecue
Yeah.
sauce every now and then.
Good
well,
stuff.
like the kind I was on, you don't remember anything. Like, you literally remember nothing when you wake up in the morning.
Have you ever tried to use the sleeping pills to, like, explain something away? You're like, oh, no, that was just the sleeping pills, but you really did?
No,
You actually weren't on sleeping pills?
Yeah, I rarely use those anymore just because I didn't want to, like, leave the house by accident, because they later found out that you really shouldn't take them because people were, like, getting in their vehicles and driving around, and yeah, it was, like, too much. It's too hardcore.
Yeah. There was a story about someone who was on Ambien who was having a nightmare that there was a burglar in the house, and when they woke up in the morning, it turned out they had, like, killed their wife, but in their dream they thought they were killing this intruder or whatever.
Do you think that was, like...
That didn't go well.
That was, like, a lie after the fact?
Probably.
I was, Ambien, right.
No.
I didn't just find out she was cheating on me.
Thank goodness for me, I just wanted to eat barbecue sauce and ribs. And
I know. I
and
could be
naked.
dead, gentlemen.
In which case, I would have moved in on your woman, too.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
we
in
kind
the
of have
will.
an agreement that if one of us,
Yeah.
kicks the bucket,
Gentleman's agreement.
everyone else has to step up in that woman's life. So,
That's right. You become the man.
yeah.
Do my duty.
If one of you kicks the bucket, then the other one will too.
Yeah, it's a three-way agreement. Wait, what?
It's like Ambien night or something, you know?
It's like Smythe is slowly planning how to pick us off.
Oh,
Dude,
there will be like a sister wife situation.
Yeah, but that means
'cause-
you would be raising 12 children.
Yeah,
So,
good luck with
yeah.
that.
be my guest. I'm hoping I'm not the last one alive.
like, everybody just stay alive.
Yeah,
Let's just
12
do
children
that.
and 3 wives. That sounds like a nightmare.
Oh. No thanks.
I know. 1 wife is enough.
Yeah.
Almost too much, but
Except for you, Clyde, right?
sure.
Oh, you're still here?
Yeah, way to put me on the spot, Rosie.
Oh, my goodness.
You're embarrassing me in front of my friends.
Never embarrass him in front of Three Skin.
That's true. I know.
Yeah, there is no embarrassment in front of 3 Skin. You know,
No.
sometimes you have those friends that it's like, these are my brothers.
Well, the interesting thing is you're the only one that still has a big Ted.
Well, that's a recent discovery. You know, my hair was thinning, and I just got to the point where I would talk to people, and mid conversation, I would see them look up at my hairline, and it was driving me so crazy. So I decided it's time to start shaving it.
How much of that was in your mind, though?
90%.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's time. I think we still got some life left in that head of hair.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I felt really self-conscious about it. I felt judged. And since shaving that head, I feel more attractive. So there we go.
You are attractive.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wish my wife thought so, but she said she's not into guys with shaved heads.
it's true.
So
Before we end this podcast, I did promise the audience early on that we'd talk about the person at this table that achieved a world record today. So,
It's not that big of a deal anymore. I've done it now 7 times.
I know 7
Yeah.
records.
7
It's
records.
impressive.
it is impressive.
But the thing about breaking a record is you have to do it at a public venue. And I don't know if every record you've done has been like this, but we went to a public venue. You know, they're starting to open society back up, so we had a lot of people passing by on foot, and they'd look over and see you shoving all these straws inside your beard. It was paper straws, right?
Paper straws.
Yeah. And I was surprised how many people stopped, and I mean, some people were asking you for your autograph.
Yeah, I signed a few autographs. That's new.
Yeah. You had,
After 7, they're finally starting to figure out who you are,
I think
you
that
know?
for a kid, okay, so my target demographic with YouTube and breaking world records is pretty much like teenage boys.
and that's
and-
really who was impressed tonight.
Yeah,
I was
you
actually
noticed.
surprised because the adults that came by, I expected them just to point and laugh or punch you or something.
Yeah,
But they actually were impressed too.
yeah,
They were taking
come to think
pictures.
of it, yeah. And but a lot of those kids like started looking me up on YouTube and
Yeah.
Instagram and stuff,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, can I have your autograph? You got." Like, one of the kids like, how many subscribers do you have? I got not a lot. I got like 20,000. And they're like, 20,000?
Yeah, they're
That's so many.
impressed.
Can I have your autograph? And I'm
The
like,
kid's like, I have 7.
I know, like every freaking kid on the planet now has their own YouTube channel, so 20,000 is a lot to them.
yeah, that was fun though. Because I was tempted when we set it up to just do it. the rules say it has to be in a public place, but it doesn't say you have to make it into an event. And in the past, I've made it into an event, but it's just a lot of work. And so I was tempted to just pick a table out on the side by the bowling alley where no one would see us. But instead, I picked a table like right in the middle of where everybody walks. And a lot of kids stopped and talked.
It's a great
and
location.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people took
awesome.
selfies with us.
And several of those kids said they were going to subscribe and had already done it
Yeah,
by
they
the
were
time
like
they left.
They were doing it on their phone right
Yeah.
there. It was like
Yeah.
cool. And the thing we didn't specify is you two guys were my official witnesses. I deputized you as Guinness adjudicators in training or something.
It was an honor.
That's right.
So you guys got to it was a lot more work than you thought when it came to counting them as well. Like
Oh, yeah.
counting
Yeah,
up
that did take a
534 paper straws
Yeah.
that took about 10 minutes.
I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but you know when you say a word so many times out loud, it no longer starts to sound like a real word?
Yeah.
So I was counting the straws by 2, and you ended up with 534 straws in total. About the time I got to 356, those words stopped having meaning to me. Like
Yeah.
2, 4, 6, 8, and then, like
Yeah.
60, 2, 4, 6, 8, 70. Like those words stopped having meaning to me, and my brain just started shutting down. So it's a good thing we had 2 witnesses, because Smythe was able to step up about halfway through and
Yeah.
finish the counting, which I'm ashamed of. I'm a teacher. Like,
Yeah, I expected
that
you to
say
make it
about
all the way
you?
through.
I should be able to count to 1,000 at least, right? But I got fatigued.
Saying numbers that long though, it's hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I got to 66, I couldn't think, or not 66, but any 6 digit. I couldn't think of what was after that. I couldn't think of what 8 was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
every time.
I was having the same issue, and I kept wanting to go like 254, 256, 258. 300. Like, I kept wanting to do that. And Joel's dad was sitting there eyeballing me the whole time. So I'm like,
Don't you mess this
super
up.
self-conscious. I'm like, oh, crap. So, but that was a great time, Joel. And congratulations
Thank
on
you.
getting the world record. I have to say, and I may have said it to you before when you were on the podcast, but one of the thrills of my teaching career for this year is the fact that I knew a guy in the Guinness Book of World Records. Like, and we just called you Toothpick Beard Guy. And the thing is I talk a lot about my Army stories, and the fact that I had a low-level celebrity that I could talk about, like those kids would eat it up. And every time, I was telling Smythe this earlier, every time I'm telling a story that doesn't involve you, I'm just like, oh yeah, me and my friend from whatever, we're driving around. And they're like, was it Toothpick Beard Guy? And they'd like all light up, and I'd be like, no, this was someone else. And they'd just,
Like, meh.
well, what's Toothpick Beard Guy doing? And I'm like, he actually lives a very boring life,
Oh, yeah,
guys.
extremely.
Yeah.
If they knew what I did for a living, they would just die of
Yeah.
boredom.
I'm like, well, he does insurance.
And they're just immediately asleep. Like, what? He doesn't fight crime? Or-
He climbs on people's roofs and hides from dogs.
Yeah.
you know?
But what's really funny is they all see you in the Guinness Book of World Record, and they instantly think you must be famous, therefore you must be rich, And I'm just like, guys, like,
I wish it worked that way.
this
Right?
is more a hobby than
Yeah.
a profession, So, but it was a really fun thing for me to, be able to share that with my students this year. So I'm hoping Guinness somehow puts you in the next book, the 2021 book. I don't know.
I'll be in it, but not today's record. That's already past the kind of the cutoff of what they're going to put in the next edition, because it comes out in September. I'm pretty sure it's going to have the chopsticks and the golf tees in the 2021 edition. But in fact, one of the things that's kind of sad but still kind of cool at the same time, when I was in the 2020 book, they sent a crew from London out to my house to take pictures of me redoing the toothpick thing. It was really exciting. These guys were cool with their accents and everything. And one of them I'm still in close contact with because we plan things together and things. But they would have sent people out to my house this year, but the global pandemic canceled that. And so they said, we were going to take chopsticks and golf tees pictures. Do you think you can just like get your wife to take pictures for us and you just send those in? So I recreated those records and sent them in, and they turned out pretty well. So I think those ones are going to be in the book, but they will have been taken by Shelley, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
When you
that
think
is
about
cool.
it.
Yeah, that is cool.
So
She's like semi-famous too.
Yeah.
She's the photographer.
I don't think they're going to give her a photo credit, but they should.
They should.
They totally
yeah.
should.
And I have to say, golf tees in the beard are my favorite.
You told me that earlier today, which surprised me. That's one of my least favorite
I love the
ones.
look of it, and I still want to get you some sort of deal with PGA.
I reached out.
Commercial.
Dude, I reached out to all these golf companies because somebody, I think it was you, recommended that I do that. And only if when I was like, hey, I hold a world record and we could do something and I could use your golf tees, and they were like, meh.
Really?
But little teaser, something coming up soon. I don't think I told you guys this. So I'm I'm attempting the world record for most pencils in a beard soon. And so I researched USA pencil companies because most pencils now are made in China or something.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and there's this really cool pencil factory in Tennessee that's been in operation for like over 100 years, and they're still going. And I reached out to them, and I told them, like, hey, I'm about to break this record. I explained everything. They got so excited. They sent me a bunch of pencils. They sent me hat, shirts. And they're like way on board with it. I'm super excited
That's
about
awesome.
it.
Oh,
So
that's
It's
awesome.
like I have a sponsor.
Yeah.
Not paying me or anything, but it's like a partnership.
But you didn't have to buy the pencils.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot of money. So.
What's the name of this company?
Musgrave Pencil Company.
Musgrave Pencil Company.
Out of Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is nicknamed the Pencil City.
Wow.
Nice.
I love Tennessee.
Me too.
I really do. Like, I seriously think if we didn't live in Denver, Tennessee would be top of my list.
Yeah.
It's a good place.
And I love buying American,
Yeah.
especially after this pandemic.
Yeah.
It made me realize, like, ooh, that's kind of important.
Yep.
So that's awesome. I'm glad. Congratulations on being sponsored.
Yeah. We'll
Ish.
call it a sponsorship.
Yeah.
Why
And
not?
Sure,
for winning
sure.
your record today, like, you're freaking killing it, dude.
I know.
You're awesome.
But mostly, I'm glad it's something we finally all got to be a part of.
I
Yes,
always
you
wanted to
know.
have you two be the witnesses. So this was the 7th record I've done, and I've had different people be the witnesses, but I always wanted to have a 3-skin unified record thing, and we did it.
And the
now it's
coolest
done.
thing is we did that earlier tonight, and then we did this podcast in the same night. So it's like 2 world records.
2 bucket list
Yeah.
items.
Best day ever. Now we're going to go rob a bank. That's my idea.
We're not doing that.
What?
Yeah, the banks are closed at this
Yeah,
hour.
exactly.
That's
listening.
the best time to rob
You got a
it.
plan?
Besides, I did your guys' things.
We kind of owe him.
Yeah, fair enough. Rosie, I'll be home late tonight,
We won't be
if
back.
at all.
Oh my gosh. Last time you said that, you guys ended up going to a gas station and eating some hot dogs that made Clyde sick for like
They were
4
sausages.
days.
It's not hot dogs.
Big
These were
Mamas.
pickled sausages.
No, it didn't make me sick because I took a bite and instantly spat it out.
I think
Right.
it induced vomiting as soon as you took the
Oh
bite.
yeah, and like I felt bad because we had just made a pact.
We
that
made a pact. We were going to eat this whole
no
pickled
matter
sausage.
what, we were gonna eat this.
And
Disgusting.
neither of us followed through on that pact.
Because once I threw up, I was like, "Sorry, man, I can't." Like I'm not an 18-year-old kid anymore.
Yeah, I used to eat those things all the time, and I never liked them, but I always didn't like them like in a good way. Like it's a gross good. I don't know if you can understand.
I don't
No,
understand.
like green olives?
no,
Green olives?
I guess if
Oh.
that's that way for you.
Oh, no,
But-
I don't like them at all.
Well, no, I liked these hot mamas, but I hated them and liked them at the same time. But when we tried last time, I couldn't. I just couldn't. I'm like, I'm too old now.
Yeah, they
My
were
body
bad.
says no.
They were bad. Which you actually swallowed your first bite. You threw
Yeah.
the rest of it away.
I think I got about half of it down.
Yeah, but then the whole
Wow.
drive home, you were like burping,
Oh,
and they smelled the same coming out as they
spicy
did.
pickled vinegars. Oh.
It was
So
bad.
gross.
Let's do pickled eggs tonight. How about?
Pickled eggs.
I love pickled eggs.
I don't think I've ever had a pickled
All right.
Are you kidding me?
We have a plan. Let's
you
wrap
guys
this
have
thing
got
up.
to stop going to gas stations at midnight. Like, this is not good.
Yeah. The hard thing was we had to drive to like 6 different gas stations before we found
When I was in
one.
high school, they had hot mamas at every gas station. What has become of this world?
People are figuring out that they're disgusting.
They're bad.
Oh my
Don't
god.
eat hot mamas.
They only keep them in case you need to induce vomiting. You go buy one of those.
You get this big tub of red liquid filled with sausages. It's not good.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Audience, we appreciate you listening every week, taking an hour, sometimes more out of your day to listen to this podcast that Clyde and I make for you.
It's a labor of love.
Don't forget, you can check out our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
And don't forget to tell your idiot you love them.
What are you, the new Claudia?
I love you, Joel.
I love you too, Smythe. All right, that's cut.
That's a wrap. And
Don't forget to check out our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
I think I already said that one. You got Rosie all frazzled.
You guys got all the stuff. I was saying the last part for you.
Don't forget to tell your idiot that you love them.
I
I love you,
idiots.
Rosie.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry. Are you guys still here?
What about me? I'm totally offended.
I love my idiot. Candom.
One final note for tonight's episode, make sure you check out Joel Nert's YouTube page. He has a great page where he posts videos of all genres, really. There's things you can learn on there. There's things that'll make you laugh. There's videos of him breaking records. And there's a video of an actual Bigfoot encounter, which kind of upsets me because he is shooting at a Bigfoot that he encounters. Now, me personally, I would not shoot at a Bigfoot because I know Bigfoot is an endangered species. But I guess if you're out in the woods and it comes down to it being between you and the Bigfoot, say goodbye to Bigfoot. Anyways, I've been on his YouTube page, I believe, 3 or 4 times. Go check out his page, see if you can find my videos. And then also, I recently was checking out this Musgrave pencil company. It's a legit pencil company, people. I'm excited to use their product in my classroom this year. And I think it's a pretty big deal that they were wanting to be a part of Joel Nert's records and be a part of history like that. So, great American-made company. So, buy American, support American jobs, and let's give some love to Joel Nert on his YouTube page. I'd love to see another one of his videos go viral. So be a part of that, please. The guy didn't even twist my arm to get me to say this. I watch his videos. I watch every single one. I subscribe to him, so every Sunday I get a little notification that a new video's up. They're always only about 3 to 5 minutes long. Pretty short. I can honestly tell you, I didn't think I would love him in the beginning when he told me he had a YouTube page. But I do love them. They're good videos. They're funny videos. And every now and then, they make me smarter.